So the news is what Chris Lowe is reporting, and that is Nico did not show up to practice, and that was a surprise to his fellow teammates and coaches. Now, let me give a quick background if I can. Here's the way this used to work. If a player's family, or in this particular case, as Will West alluded to, it might be an agent, they had a problem, they would go to the media and they would express that issue. Why? Because a lot of the best players were getting paid. And the last thing you're going to do is go to a reporter and say, or go public and say, I was getting paid. I want my money, because that used to be illegal. It's not illegal anymore. So you have these players' families who are willing to go public. So that gives them more leverage, a lot more leverage. There have been a ton of players' families that were disgruntled. This, though, is another level because of the leverage, something that, quite frankly, I've never covered before. So Chris Lowe of ESPN saying Tennessee quarterback Nico Iamaleava, amid reports that he wanted to renegotiate his NIL deal, did not show up at Friday morning's practice, sources told ESPN. Here's the newsy part that nobody's had till this point, and kudos for Chris Lowe for reporting that just minutes ago. A surprise to Tennessee staff members and players. I didn't get all of it.
I'm sorry. I apologize. That was an accident.
A surprise to Tennessee staff member and players. Iamaleava's reps denied Thursday there was any renegotiation talk. I'm not disputing what Chris is reporting. I'm not disputing what Will's reporting. I'm just saying this is a big, huge, monstrous mess. And somebody on the message board posted, this is why Nick Saban retired. It absolutely is. This is before the orange and white game. When does a player do this the day before the Georgia game? Because, yes, you have some leverage. The transfer portal is about to open. You always have leverage to go to the transfer portal. But theoretically, you have more with the orange and white game. Guys, the orange and white game is not any more of a game than a typical practice is. He's going to be wearing the green jersey. If he goes out there, he's not going to get hit. There is no risk for further injury any more than there was at practice today. So my question, Caleb, is can this mess be fixed not only by the orange and white game, but over the course of the summer?
I think it can be fixed over the course of the summer. But there's a lot of repairing to do. Now, if what Will is reporting is true, I don't think, funny enough, this is going to hurt chemistry with the players, because I feel like a lot of players, if this is all happening and if what's going on with Nico telling people what his dad was saying and back in January is true, then I feel like a lot of players just feel sympathy for Nico, don't you? A lot of them just feel bad that he's in this situation. But
very likable guy too.
Right. But not showing up for practice and not letting anybody know you're not showing up for practice, that's like, I understand what Will is saying, not showing up for practice till this gets settled. But you don't tell anybody. You shock everybody you did that.
Dave, sounds like an Aaron Rodgers thing.
Yeah, and if you don't fix if it's because Tennessee fans got to you yesterday with some of the comments they were making, what do you think they're going to say now? I'm just going to say this anecdotally, reading on Twitter. This morning, there was some let him walk talk yesterday, but most of what I saw, Dave, was, okay, we don't know if the report's true. Let's let it happen. Now with this report that he wasn't at practice, everything I'm reading on Twitter is let him walk by. I'm done. I mean, I'm reading from what I'm reading from Tennessee fans, they are totally out on this guy now.
Okay, well, see, I'm seeing the opposite. I'm seeing paid. So, I mean, we can make that our poll question once again if you want to. Now, the fact that that might change it. As a matter of fact, this might be the first time we run the same poll question 2 times in a show, because things have changed. The fact that he didn't show up for practice without telling his teammates or his staff. Now, I'll tell you this. I don't know that you're supposed to, if you're doing some sort of protest, I don't know that you're supposed to tell your bosses, which in this case would be the coaching staff. I really have trouble believing that Mike Matthews, who he just took to California with him, that he didn't know Nico was not going to practice. Did everybody on the team know? Did the third string defensive tackle know? Maybe not. But yeah, and just to me, I think you're trying to make a statement. I think some players probably know.
Yes, I think maybe he told somebody personally. By the way, as I'm pulling up different reports, Pete Thamel says that he has been in conversations with Tennessee about a new contract. But maybe Pete Thimble signing on 3, who knows? So, but that's another reliable report. A lot of this is just there's so many things going on here, guys. The way I look into it is some of what Will was talking about. There were expected negotiations between Nico and Tennessee. Someone leaked things to get the ball rolling, and neither side wanted this leaked. And where I break with Will, Dave, maybe it's someone with Spire. It could just be some low-level idiot who works at the university that doesn't know what they're doing.
An offensive analyst.
It could. What if it's this? Okay, can I go?
Could be a coordinator.
Conspiracy hat, offensive analyst, or position coach. Lincoln Riley at USC gave them a call and said, hey, why don't you leak this story, create a rift, and then once Nico hits the transfer portal, I'll get him, and then I'll bring you on at a higher role than you're on at Tennessee right now.
Yeah, I go back to all this kumbaya talk of Mike Matthews going back to L.A. with Nico. Is that really where they want them? Right in the shadow of Southern California's campus? Really? After they've just they've run off a quarterback and they're going with another one that we don't really know how well he's participating in spring camp. I didn't like anything about him going to Cali. And some of you looked at me like, what are you doing, Dave? Are you just trying to make something out of nothing? No, I didn't. I think you go back. I mean, when you're only at a business theoretically for 3 years, which that's the idea. Yeah, I've been hired away by a company and I was with them for a year. How many times did I come back to Knoxville? Maybe once or twice. Did I bring the producer of the radio show with me? And no. And I just don't like anything about them going out to LA. Yes, don't like it.
So who do you think feels more let down right now? The staff or the players with Nico not being at practice?
I think the players are always going to side with the players. If there's one thing I've learned, it's they're always going to side with the players. I think the staff is probably miffed, to say the least. I think the staff is miffed at the report, perturbed that it's gotten to be at this point. But some of this Josh Heupel has to take responsibility for. He could have been out in front of this. He knew that Nico wasn't going to practice. He thought he could just hide it all away like he's done for most of his career. You should know at this point, headed into year 5, that the media scrutiny is much more difficult when you're the head coach at Tennessee than the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma.
Yeah, and it is weird, I have to say, that, like, did they play a game of chicken yesterday, Tennessee and Nico's family, to say which side is going to refute this first? Because that's what it feels like. And it seems like they didn't talk. And I mean, we talk about this is why Nick Saban left. Guys, Nick Saban coached for 3 years in the NIL age. I'm just going to put this out there. Is there any way this is handled in the same way under Nick Saban?
I don't know. Would Nick Saban cut the guy? Is that what you're asking? What would he do?
No, I think Nick Saban would I think Nick Saban would talk to the player, before practice, make sure that they handled this PR-wise, and say, this is what we got to talk about.
Now, are we sure that he even showed up to practice? I mean, was he even in the locker room? I mean, it's not a situation where you can go out there and say, hey, Nico, we need to handle this right, if he doesn't show up at all.
Well, I think they should have called him in yesterday to handle this right. And then, honestly, look, I think Nick Saban would have called a press conference to address it. If I know anything about Nick Saban, I mean, this is a disaster all the way around. Just the way this has publicly been handled, honestly, has been a total disaster. And now, Nathaniel, I'm trying to pull up what you're saying, that reportedly Nico is negotiating a new contract. And well, we knew, but apparently there are some suggested reports that that's actually why he has.
Here's my issue too. Listen, you've upped the ante somehow, some way. The guy at Spire or whoever it was, whether it was assistant coach or whatever, he ups the ante. So now you're kind of all in, and you look like you lose face if you're Tennessee and you walk away from Nico, or you're Nico and you walk away. If you're Nico, you look like you were scared of competition or the big time stage or whatever the case might be. And if you're Tennessee, you're looking like you couldn't come up with the funds to pay him. So no matter which area you're in, you're going to lose face if you come to the negotiating table or the press conference podium and say, none of that's true. Everything's glory good and everything's fine.
No, they can't lie about this now. They kind of have to be upfront and address it. I mean, there's no way they can lie about anything that's happening. And you know, Josh Heupel has tried this in the past. Remember the Jeremy Banks and Hooker saga? Josh Heupel really didn't want to go public about what happened with Jeremy Banks.
Right.
But like we all found out about it. You got to kind of address this, whatever happens.